one of my favorite topics, self-awareness. We're going to talk about that with Anthony Gutierrez, senior recruiter, Harris Butcher Sports and Entertainment. He's going to talk about that in his professional experience, personal, and also with what he does at Harris Butcher.
Yeah, Caleb, I'm really excited to talk about this, and part of the reason why I selected this topic to talk about is because it's one of the biggest growth opportunities I've had over the course of my career. One of the bigger things that I think I've always had to battle is my reaction to people over the course of my career and the way I'm perceived to others. And I used to always say that if my body doesn't say it, my face definitely is going to say it if I don't like what you're saying or if I have a reaction. So for me, self-awareness is not just how you hold yourself and how you react to every situation. It's the way that others perceive you to react to a situation. And as you get older and you mature in your career, you always realize that not everything warrants a response, not everything will warrant an opinion, and sometimes it really does only take 3 seconds for you to kind of evaluate how you're going to respond to something instead of just saying it automatically. That will make all the difference in the world, and it will affect your credibility. And I'll say firsthand, I've had earlier companies in my career where I may have had a really bad interaction with someone in the company, and no matter what I did later on in that organization, even if I proved myself and had that high level of credibility, or I was able to, kind of grow my clout in the organization, no matter what I did and I interacted with that person, they would never believe anything I had to say, or they would never take anything I said with any sort of credibility because of the way we had interacted previously. So, for me, self-awareness is your body language, first of all. The way you react to something, you can't, stick your nose in the air, you can't cross your arms, you can't roll your neck or, throw your eyes in the back of your head or anything like that when you're talking to somebody. You always want to make sure that you are open and approachable. And the way you react to somebody, make sure that your tone is on point, make sure that you always try to put forward a good, friendly response, and choose your words wisely. You always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it, and that's partially true, but you want to make sure that the words that you're saying aren't hurtful to anybody else, and you're not discrediting someone else's opinion, and you're not, standing down for what you believe in. And I think that's another part of self-awareness, is knowing what you will stand for and what you won't stand for. And I think saying that out loud to yourself, what you will and what you won't stand for, kind of helps you put it out into the universe, and it helps you kind of think about your interactions with other people. It doesn't mean you have to disrespect them when they don't believe you or they don't necessarily think the same way that you do, but you know how to circumvent those conversations if there is some type of issue that happens with someone else in the workplace. And it does help build credibility. If you're not someone who kind of pops off at the mouth every time someone says something that disagrees with you, you really do have to kind of pull back and think of your reputation and the way that you want to be perceived, because sometimes perception is reality about 90% of the time.
Right. So one of the things I always talk about with my students is both written and oral.
Yep.
Because there's both of that with self-awareness, right?
Yep.
The way you write an email, the way you write a LinkedIn message,
correct,
the way you call someone and talk,
yep,
and then when you meet them in person, you have to have the same enthusiasm. If you're writing an email, for example, this is
right,
not a great example, and using exclamation points, they might think that you're a little energetic. They might think it's overused, but you have to have that same energy in person too.
Correct.
So think about this perception building as well. So one of the things I want to propose to you is, as a student, as an intern, and they're looking and they're saying, I'm at this school and I'm, an excellent straight A student, right? Or I have three internships here and I have all the experience I need.
Right.
They have to step outside sometimes and look at the other schools and look at the other majors and look at the other students that are out there,
right,
both undergrad, grad, law, doctorates, all these students that they're competing against, and say, where do I stand? How do you answer that as a self-awareness situation?
I think that's a really good thing. Sometimes it's best not to compare yourself literally to other teams, because I feel like that's where you get into self-confidence issues and you can get really internal about yourself. But I do think that one thing that you can say that makes you stand out from other people is that you do have a set of skills and knowledge that other people don't have. So even if you're comparing yourself to the law student who probably has a relatively high GPA, because that's how law students work, or someone else who's going into med school that probably has a different skill set or group of knowledge that kind of falls into their position, you can say, I do have 3 internships under my belt. They're all in the sports industry, or, I do have a variety of internships that fall under my belt. And I think that's what sets me apart from other people. You don't have to get cocky about it. You don't have to, you can be overly confident about it, but there's a way that you can present yourself and say, I have 3 of these internships, they're all within the sports industry. I learned something very essential every time I was there, versus I have 3 sports internships. They were with top, professional sports league teams. I did fantastic there. I'm, the best person there is out there for this position. You should choose me. There's a way to balance it and say, I was able to learn something, and this is what I was able to do while I was there to prove that you did something. You have to attach a result to whatever you did in order to prove that you're as good as you say you are versus, oh, I work for an NBA team, an NHL team, and an NFL team. That proves that I'm better than anybody else qualified for the position. That just means you got lucky and were able to get that internship, unless you have something that makes you stand out. So make sure that you're making yourself stand out and have some kind of result behind what you're doing, because there may be other people out there who don't have that type of opportunity allotted to them. If you're in a smaller market and you're not like we are in the Philly metro market, you may have to work with a minor league team in order to get that experience. Right. You may not be able to work with the NFL, NBA, and NHL team just because you don't have them in your backyard. But, you have to be able to produce that type of results. And if someone who's working with that AHL team out there is able to produce results and do X, Y, and Z much more incredible than you are with your NFL and 3 other internships, then they're the ones who get the position because they produced a result. It's not all about, the overconfidence and kind of the self-awareness, again, being able to produce a result and be confident without overly projecting this sense of cockiness.
Right. So in the mention of online versus offline, let's also bring in the online persona. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, even LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
So how do they, as students, have to practice self-awareness to, I guess, achieve greatness on those? I don't know how else
this is a big one for students. Yeah. Your online brand is everything. I always say, no matter what you're posting, I try to use proper grammar, use full sentences. I know I sound like an old head saying this, but it really does make like a huge difference. Slang, I stay away from it, especially on professional networks like LinkedIn and Twitter. Twitter, I know it doesn't sound like it's super professional, but a lot of people get their news from that way, and people who read the news are typically older and more professional, and they probably are trolling your your Twitter if they're looking to hire you, just to see what you're interested in, what you're following, what you're retweeting. A lot of companies do that on a regular basis. We don't necessarily do it, but there are companies out there that will look at social media page. I know for us, being on brand is really big, just as an organization. We try to project the Sixers brand, the Devils brand, whoever we're representing, and any type of language that we put out online, any type of imagery that we put out online, any type of communications that we put out online, that gets approved by 3, 4, 5 different people before it goes out, so that it represents us as we want to be represented and perceived. And much to our chagrin, we don't have that, as people. You have yourself and maybe that one, ride or die friend you have that'll check your Instagram post before it goes out, So make sure that you're really monitoring that, because perception's reality in a lot of situations, and you want to make sure that you're self-aware of how you're being projected out to the masses.
I think that's a great point. I think almost creating that department for yourself to be able to approve, make sure everything's on brand, because when you send out something, it has to kind of go together. You can't have like this Instagram handle that's totally different than your Twitter, and they're gonna be like, what is with this guy's personality, or what's with this girl's interest? They're all over the place. I think bringing that all together, kind of thinking about it like as a team or as a department, because you are a business and that's what you want to.
Right.
So self-awareness really starts with you guys looking at yourself. We're good at reflection a lot of times, but how does that reflect our perception is what it comes
Right,
down to.
exactly. You need to make sure that whatever you're putting out there is how you want to be perceived by other people, because whatever other people see online is what they think about you. So if you're going to put something out there that's lackluster or bashing someone else, or something that's negative, or something that frankly sounds ignorant because it's spelled incorrectly, it does reflect poorly on you. So make sure that you really think about that twice before you go out there. So that's the online perception, and the same thing when you're communicating with people. You want to make sure that you're communicating with people in a way that you want to be perceived.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.